Hiya, welcome to another episode of Pickler The Podcast. I'm your co-host Stacie Townsend, along with John, the People's Champ Davison. And John,
What up, Stace?
not too much. Just excited for another weekly episode. And there's been a lot going on. I know tons of tournaments the past couple weeks, and it's going to continue through the end of the year. But I want to set this episode up because we have a special guest tonight, and I just want to set the stage. So, John, can you take it back and remember 3 to 4 months into your pickleball playing career?
Oh, my career. Let's see. Very short career professionally as I've moved into the broadcast booth. But in the first 3 or 4 months, I was doing pretty well. I was beating up on all these old ladies. I finally started getting the hang of it. And so there was like a round robin that was held, and it was like $5 to enter. And it took me like 3 or 4 tries to actually win. But I finally won one after 5 or 6 months, where it was pretty much me and then like a bunch of old ladies. But I feel like I should call that as a win. I have an Instagram post to prove it. So
No, I
just
think
saying.
I'm sure. I mean, I think 3 to 4 months in, I was just learning to come up to the kitchen line. But our guest tonight, 3 to 4 months in, she has a double gold in the APP Punta Gorda tournament in the pro level, beating people like Simone Jardine the GOAT of pickleball. So I'd like to welcome Anna Bright in. Anna, thanks for joining us tonight.
Of course. Thank you, guys. And I think that's absolutely a win, John. You got to take them where you can.
I mean, yeah, it took me a long time to get a pro win. So I was holding on to that. It was like a little medal, the ones you put around your neck, but it was like, I think you had to give it back. So it's not like I actually got to keep it. But it was my first pickleball trophy ever, and I'm sticking to it.
You got
claiming that as a
I
win.
Respect it. I respect it.
But hey,
not
I got
first and only.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's not the only, but it might be the only for a while, possibly, because everybody's getting too good. But I got the bright pink in the background, just for you, Anna.
Thank you.
I don't know if you like pink, but I just went bright on it. So
I love pink, and I haven't heard enough bright puns lately. So
oh yeah.
So it's good.
You have a great name, Anna. That was actually going to be one of my questions. Like, I've seen the bright as a diamond. I saw your Instagram, not so bright, Anna, not so bright. So what's like the best name pun you got or you've heard lately?
Oh, I mean, they're really not that creative. It's just the future is bright. That's the one that keeps popping up. You have, shine bright like a diamond, no man's land pickleball went with that one. So I appreciated a change up from the future is bright, because I really think that that's all I've heard. Some people are commenting like she's so bright, which is probably the worst. That requires least amount of creativity. But I can't say I have a favorite. We'll have to see as if people evolve as I do better with their bright jokes. But so far there's been a lot of them, a lot of puns.
I don't have any good one tonight either. That's why I went with that very, not very thought out.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite. The bright pink. That's my favorite.
There you go.
So,
I usually go blue. It's the first time I went pink.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just felt like pink tonight.
That's good.
He was setting up his joke. So John, do you know anything about Anna Bright?
Well, I do know that you just started playing, and I've seen your name pop up a few times, and watching some matches on the YouTubes. But I mean, you are a new face and just a new player who's really taken the game on by storm, and so I'm excited to get to know you more tonight, because we've never met, and I feel like in the pro pickleball world, the world's so small that you know everybody. So you're the first guest we've had I've never met before. So I'm excited for this. Yeah, Stacie, I don't know how to answer your question. I don't know a lot about Anna, but that's the whole purpose of this.
I know. I'm really excited. So Anna, tell us something that you haven't told any other podcast before. Like, where should we start?
Oh man,
I stumped you.
I've only talked to Scott Golden.
So it
Okay,
should be
Okay,
real
I have
pretty
podcast.
easy.
something. I have, yeah, okay, then you guys are my first, then I could say anything.
There
Yep.
you
Um,
go.
I have something to tell you guys. So I started playing pickleball on November or October 23rd on
Hmm.
my Twitter account. My Twitter account is public. November 1st, I have a tweet considering pursuing professional pickleball on November
Wow.
Wow.
1st. A week into playing, I was mostly joking, but I was also slightly serious.
What
Self-fulfilling prophecy. Here I
There you
am.
so
go.
so a weekend, what did you think professional pickleball was? Because like coming from tennis, so catch everybody up. Anna was a standout at Cal, and I think you had a pretty great junior tennis career, is my understanding. Uh, Tennis people converting to pickleball, sometimes there's a little friction and it's hard to get into it. What was your perception a week after picking up a paddle?
I was literally in love. It was like love at first sight. Because I had played pickleball a few times while I was in college, just with my family when I was home, but just with my family. But I was playing at Terramar with my dad this day, and some guy was like, "You're really good. You should play tournaments." And I was like, "How do you play a tournament?" And he told me the Facebook groups to join. He told me to go to Plantation. I think that's where a lot of people start in this area. I went to Plantation. I was playing with people who were like at my level, and the next day I went and I bought like a Ben John's paddle, and then I was grinding at Plantation from like 5 to 10 p.m. for a week. I was just grinding. I was playing as much as I possibly could. And so in a weekend I was like, I was joking about it, but I was also serious. I didn't know what professional pickleball really entailed. I knew some of the household names like Anna Lee, Ben Johns,
Hmm.
Simone, but I didn't know anything about the tours. I didn't know anything about anything. I just know that Andy Rubenstein had a charity tournament, the Plantation, in 2 weeks, and I was playing it. That's all I really knew.
Yeah. For the first year I played pickleball, I didn't even know there were real tournaments. Like, it's wild. Like how far the game has come in just 5 years, where you were playing
Right.
a tournament right away. I didn't even know one existed. I mean, they were going on, but the social media wasn't as big, right? So you didn't like. I feel like it was harder for me to find better players and like find tournaments. Where now you just like there's tournaments every single place, like every month.
Right.
So
Yeah, there's multiple, but to be fair, if you're struggling to win, a round robin with older women, I maybe you were right where you needed to be.
yeah, you're probably right. It's probably good I didn't show my face for like a year and a half. I just remember when I just started talking a bunch of shit to all the pro players before I was even good, and then I tried to show them up when I got better. Went 2 and out a few times, but I'm gonna blame Stacie on that one. So
You gonna blame him right
he
back, Stacie?
Well, he blames me for everything, which is fine. Which is fine. Everybody out there really knows the real truth, so I don't even need to stand up for myself. So going into Punta Gorda, I heard that you kind of didn't know what to expect, but maybe Georgia Johnson helped you out along the way. Can you talk us through like your expectations going in, and then I want to hear your expectations now going into your next tournament.
So going in, I've literally like never been more excited for anything. It was this Punta Gorda tournament was all I was thinking about for like the 3 days. I was so excited and nervous about it that on Thursday, like I finished work at like 2. All I have to do is drive 2.5 hours in there. But I was so nervous, I kept like putting off leaving. I was like, oh, I just have to go to the grocery store, make sure I have all the food I want. Oh, I just have to do this, I have to do that. I was just so nervous and excited about it that it was hard for me to just get in my car and get to driving. Um, but my expectations, I knew I had really good partners. I was so happy that someone had backed out on Georgia and that she had asked me. I wasn't her first choice, but I think that she's pretty happy with how it all worked out. And then I was so happy to be playing with Gabe, who, I love and is just such a sweetheart and who's so, so talented. Um, so in mixed, I just wanted to kind of see how well we could do, play well, go as far as we could. I wasn't expecting to medal or anything in mixed. But I'm really happy with how we did. It's just, there are a lot of household names, especially on the men's side. You had Dekel, you had Kyle, and JW, Zane. I wasn't and I know that I'm not the best dinker just yet, and a lot of mixed is the women dinking cross court. So I knew that while I'm more comfortable in like hands, battles, and fast things mixed, I'm not quite as good at yet. So I just wanted to see how well we could do. I thought we could do well, and we did. I'm really happy with how we did. But that was kind of where I was at for mixed. And then in doubles, Georgia, the day before, a few days before the tournament, was going through everyone in the bracket and was like, we could beat this team. We could beat this team if we get hot. We could beat this team. We could light up this person. And she was like, Anna, we're going to medal. Like, we could medal. We're going to medal. And I was like, we're going to medal? Huh? Like, we could pull that off, So that kind of lit a fire under us and under me, because I was like, oh shoot, like Georgia actually knows these people. I've just heard of Simone, and some of these other names I've heard of a bit. Everyone's heard of Lee Whitwell. She's really become a legend, but I didn't really know much about any of the other really good players there. So that kind of made me feel more confident and just made me even more excited. And then in the singles side, I honestly did go in expecting to win the singles, just because of the tennis background I have. Mm-hmm. And, I practice with Georgia and Gabe and Millie's, and I did well against all of them in singles. So it's kind of strange to go into a tournament, nobody knows who you are. You're probably going to get the worst draw because you have no singles mm-hmm. rating even. You're self-rated as a 4-0. But you feel like it's your tournament to lose. So it's a bit of a strange mentality. I thought it was kind of funny, but that's kind of where I was at with my headspace for the 3 events.
No, it's amazing. Like you said, you came in kind of as an unknown. I think, what did you grabbed 4th in mixed? Is that right?
No, not that good. We were seeded 19th, and we finished like 7th/8th place.
Well, I'll round up for you. So, 2 golds on the women's doubles, women's singles. It's super impressive. I'm curious to see what you expect now going into next weekend, because you're playing coming up here. So do you have the same expectations for yourself, or where's your mindset at?
This singles draw has a certain individual I'm a little bit more worried about. We've got Bobby. Bobby is playing in singles at this tournament. I'm really happy for her because she played in the 5-0 mixed on Sunday at Punta Gorda, which she did really well. She won, but I know that she would have also had liked to play singles. So I'm happy for her that she's playing singles. So me and her have some very tight games in practice. We've played some singles, so I'm a little worried about her. But I still expect to do really well in singles. I still feel like I should win. I'm riding a lot of confidence, but I know that Bobby will be a struggle, and Megan Fudge did push me in the second game, and I know that Georgia did not play well at all against me, so I know that should we play again, it'll be a lot more difficult, but I still feel like I should be doing really well. And then as far as doubles and mixed, I'm playing mixed with Shiv, and I know that we could have a good run, but I would say I feel pretty similar to last week, where we definitely could medal. I think we absolutely could if we're both hot. But it just kind of depends. And then I'm playing doubles with Amanda Hendry, who's really a doll. But I know winning, I feel like would be a little bit tough for us. And we'll just have to see, if we're playing hot. She's a lefty, so I'll be playing on the left, which is where I like to be. We'll just see how that one goes.
And you're not a sleeper this weekend, so I
am not a
advantage
sleeper.
or disadvantage?
I'm not. I don't really think it much matters, to be honest. I don't think it matters too much. It doesn't really matter too much to me. I have to say I'm not quite as excited for this event as I was for Punta Gorda. I think the excitement of knowing that at Punta Gorda, it's like after if I do well, it's going to be such a shock, because No Man's Land Pickleball had drafted me, Slim had drafted me, and I was so hyped about that. I was like, someone knows who I am, like someone is excited about me. So I had that hype. I was like, I had to help Slim out. I had to deliver for my boy. So there's not quite that same level of excitement at Plantation in that regard, because that was a fun little extra thing. I was so excited to see what they wrote about me every day. Definitely was following that blog really hard. So I'm still really excited though, and I just love competing, so I'm really excited to play, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, you're playing with Shiv, so it's going to be tough to get a medal with him. No, I'm just kidding. I love Shiv. He's a great player. And then, you spoke on Bobby in singles. Bobby, I've had the chance to play with Bobby too, and she is a phenomenal player. But she doesn't get to play good. She doesn't get to play enough through the whole weekend because she has to work. Right. So she's not in every single event. But I have never seen her play singles. So I'm
She's
actually going to be
filthy.
looking forward to it because I'm going to be in the broadcast booth with Lauren for it.
Oh,
So
oh.
yeah, if there's anything you want me to say about you on air, just let me know.
Okay, I'll have to think about that. I'll definitely have to think about that. But yeah, hopefully Bobby and I get to face off, because I think that'll be a really good match. Our matches in practice we've only played like 4 or 5 games, but they're always close and we're always exhausted. I'm always sweating and yelling a few expletives, just because she's so filthy. But it's always a lot of fun.
Yeah, she's great. A great person too. I
Absolutely.
yeah. I liked playing with Bobby a lot. Um, but who was your biggest competition at Delray, or not at Delray, at Punta Gorda? What was the hardest match of the weekend you felt? Was it Simone and Corinne, or was it on the singles side or mixed side?
Um,
Like, who gave you the most trouble, you think?
I would say, I mean, I would have to say J Dub and Georgia in mixed is probably what I would have to say. We played them in our second match and we won the first game like 11-3. Then I think we lost 11-5, 11-3, something like
Mm-hmm.
that. So they are just better than us as a team right now. So I would have to say they were our toughest match. Obviously, that one wasn't televised, but that would be the hardest match overall. You know, they're just kind of a level above right now, for Gabe and I. But then, as far as a match that maybe some people saw, I would say playing Lee and Vivian was tough, especially the first time we played them, which wasn't
Mm-hmm.
broadcasted. But we played a lot better the second time we played them, and it was still really close. But I thought they played us really really smart the first time. We didn't play our best, but they were really smart. You know, they were keeping the ball low and slow, pretty much the same style that was on our bronze medal match. But it's
Mm-hmm.
just we were playing a little worse and they were playing a little better. And also the first time we played them, me and Georgia weren't stacking so much, so I was on the right a lot more, and I think that really mattered because I'm just not nearly as dangerous on that side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've unfortunately had to run into JW too many times in a tournament, and I will agree with you that he is a bit annoying to play against because he's just so good.
I know
And
he's just so good, and it's actually so annoying. I practice with him, and it's just so frustrating. It's like there's literally, it's like a normal ball. You know, it's like I have a ball right here, so I want to rip
mm,
this ball at him. Of course, I want to rip this ball at him, but it's literally always the wrong decision to rip it at J Dub. It doesn't matter how confident you are, how high you think it is. He's gonna destroy you in like 2 shots. So that's a bit frustrating to just feel like there's literally nothing
mm-hmm.
you can do against him. But I'm getting better though, you know, maybe before he'd overpower me in one, now he overpowers me in two. So once I can hang for a little longer, I'll know I've made it.
Yeah, the worst part about JW is like he'll just nonchalantly destroy you in a hands battle, and then just nothing. There's no like, come on. There's no excitement. It's just he just puts his head down and walks back to the line. And I'm just like, gosh, it's like he doesn't even have to try, and he
He
just
might
doesn't even
not
show like he's trying.
he
So
might
it's
not
it's
know you well enough. He'll tell me good try, maybe next time.
uh,
So,
uh,
Anna, one thing that strikes me about you is you seem really mentally tough, really confident. And I want to know, what's your secret? Where does that come from? What do you tell yourself on the court?
I wish I knew the secret. I've always kind of had it. And I think that's why I was such a good tennis player. Because I have two little sisters, and my dad was all of our coaches, and my sisters were also good, but they just in junior tennis especially, you just have to be so tough because there's no refs a lot of the time, and so there's a lot of cheating and other things, and unfortunately I think that weeds out a lot of the young talent in tennis, and it just kind of cultivates people who kind of have a bit of have toughness, but also maybe even a bit of a mean streak. Like you have to be able to stand up for yourself and kind of
mhm.
deal with when things aren't going your way. And so I think that I have that, and yeah. So I don't know, and on the court when I'm like super locked in, it's literally all positivity out there. You know, except maybe I scream. I'll let out some frustration and stuff, but I'm always right back on the next point. Like I think I let out a couple fudge nuggets this weekend, which Scott noticed or Brian Levine noticed. That's one I say it's just a good way to avoid an F bomb. Um, so I don't know. I'm really positive out there, always trying, always believing I can do it. I think even when I'm losing, I really try to fake it till I make it because Georgia and I in the second game against Vivian, we were down 6-0 like pretty quickly, but I was still like, anytime we got anything, I was like, come on, like, let's go. I think that's really, really important to kind of keep yourself in it. And we still lost, but we lost the game 11-8. Like we really came back. And I think having that comeback, even though we didn't win the game, we didn't win the match, it really gave us confidence that if we got back to the bronze we could beat them if we played better. So I think having a fake it till you make it attitude is really important, not trying to look the same when you're winning and losing. It's also just so you don't give your opponent hope. So I think that's really, really important, and I'm just lucky that I think tennis has kind of cultivated that in me.
No, that's good advice. What about handling your nerves? You said you were nervous on Thursday. Did you feel nervous when you hit the court Friday? And how do you handle that?
I was a bit nervous. I was definitely a bit nervous. Uh, Thankfully, nobody saw Gabe and I's first match. We did not play well. We were both nervous. A little bit of first match jitters, first match of the tournament jitters. So I don't know how to handle that. I some days I handle it a lot better than others. I think it's just important to when you're feeling like that to try to not make bad decisions because you're frazzled. Try to play some long points. I think when I played against you, Stacie, I was frazzled, and making bad decisions. So I think that's something I've gotten better at as I've played more pickleball and gotten more confident in my dinking ability as well. That it's okay if I have to dink for a little longer. Whereas I think, in December when I played you, I just had no confidence in myself in that regard. So that's one reason I was pulling the trigger way too early. And this also came up in when Gabe and I were playing Michelle and Kyle in one of the consolation matches. We were down like 8-1, 9-1, and Gabe like wanted us to start playing really risky and aggressive. He's like, we have to. I was like, if we lose, like I want to lose playing good points. And so
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to like keep him calm, and I think that was the right approach. Just if we lose, like I want to learn from it. I want to play like high percentage pickleball. So I think that's important. That's something I've definitely learned the more I've played. The importance of not making bad decisions just because you're frazzled. Because I don't think that doing things out of that mentality is usually going to work out.
Yeah, especially with pickleball because you really don't have a lot of time between points,
Mm-hmm.
and then so if you just get into like a bad headspace or like, you were talking about just how, you're just being positive all the time, right? Like if, and just trying to like be mentally strong because if you're not, instead of going down 1 or 2 points, in the blink of an eye, you're down 4, 5, 6 points, right? So it's something you really have to like compartmentalize and just really refocus and just get back to playing smart pickleball like you were talking about, right? And just forget about um, any negative things that are going on in your mind, or else before you know it, the game's already over.
Yeah, absolutely. That's I think what I do is I let out like one scream of frustration or something, and then generally we're over it. I try to move on. Sometimes it works better than others, but that's generally how I've done things in tennis and now in pickleball when I'm being a
Yeah,
good girl.
I tend to have a little bit of a potty mouth on the court. Um, Stacie probably knows, but I don't use a fudge nugget. I just go straight for it.
Yeah,
I let it all out.
I
that's
think
fair.
that's
That's
really
fair. Teach their own.
no. I think that's really great advice, Anna. And that's one thing I think I admire watching you, because like I think a lot of people struggle with that. Even myself, like I don't play as much or as many tournaments as I used to. So for instance, when I faced you in Del Rey, like when I get in a tournament, I get my nerves for some reason. I feel less confident than when I was playing tournaments more frequently. I think it's something you have to really train yourself. And obviously with your tennis background, certainly helps. Like of my softball background, I thought it helped that I still get so nervous for a pickleball tournament. But I think a lot of people struggle with it. So I hope your advice helps some people thinking about playing in tournaments or in a competitive environment. I think the mental side is so important to the game of pickleball.
For sure, for sure.
So tell us a little bit more about your tennis career. Give us like the 10,000 foot view.
Okay, so my dad played tennis in a small college in Tennessee, and he is one of those people who just loves the game. Like he can watch it all the time. He studies it. He always would get on to me. He's like, "Why aren't you practicing your form in the mirror and practicing your ball toss?" And I'd be like, 12-year-old, I'd be like, "Because I don't wanna. Like I'm not like you. I don't like it that much, you know." So my dad was one of those. So there was no like, oh, she's gonna play other sports and she'll choose. It was all, my whole life has been I've been playing tennis pretty much. And I was lucky that like I was pretty talented and also had kind of the mental side that's required to be good at it, especially when you're young. Um, so I was really good. When I was like 12, actually, I was like the number one player in the country in my class. And then
Wow.
I got pretty injured. Pretty sad. I was like almost 13 with a fractured L4 just from
Oh,
overplaying. So that was a bit of a setback, and I got burnt out. Coming back from that because I was losing. I wasn't used to losing. But then I went back into high school. I had a lot of fun in high school. Kind of got back to where not quite the same level, but I got to being really good again. I was a top 10 in the class. I graduated number two, but that's just because people went pro who were ahead of me. I wasn't actually quite that high. So I got recruited to Cal, had a really great career there, started at the top of the lineup, finished at the bottom of the lineup, just because my style was always more suited to play the bottom half of the lineup. It's funny, in pickleball, if you guys have watched me play, I'm very aggressive, ripping balls at the kitchen. No one would call me a super patient player, but in tennis, I was very patient, definitely a grinder, someone really smart who anticipated well, kind of figured things out, not too ashamed to, be hitting moon balls. At
mm,
21 years old, I would do whatever it took. So my senior year in singles, I was 20-3 at like lines five and
Wow.
six, and my team we won the Pac-12 conference, which was super sick for us. We'd be like Stanford and UCLA. So I had a really, really solid senior year. And I actually, because of COVID, I could have chosen to stay and played another year of tennis because I had another year of eligibility. But I just knew I was done. I knew that tennis was like a chapter in my life that was closing, and that it didn't feel like a good or a bad thing. It was just a thing that I knew it was time for. It was time for other things. So
mm-hmm.
moved on from tennis, got into, had some other things I wanted to do, wanted to work, wanted to, have a normal life. And then 8 months later, here I am on a podcast for pickleball. So I don't know if I really had a normal life, but I'm happy with my decision to move on from tennis for sure.
What was that
So
transition
you
hard for
hinted
you?
that. Oh,
Oh, sorry, John. As a former
no,
student athlete,
it's
I
okay,
have to ask
Stace.
this question.
That's okay.
Was it hard for you to transition after being a student athlete, or you were ready for something different?
From I was so ready for it. I think I had, like, ever since being in high school, I knew that professional wasn't going to be an option for me. I definitely saw a lot of people for whom the transition was really tough. I also, as we talked about before earlier, Stacie, I made the transition about as blunt as you could. By a few days after the NCAA tournament finishing, I was at the Mexican border and I started walking north. So to do my hike. So it was a pretty quick turnaround for me from
You have to
finishing tennis to going on my next adventure.
well, you have to tell a little bit about this adventure. I know I've heard a little bit, but fill in the viewers, the fans.
Oh, right. Okay. Um, so right after graduating from college and finishing my tennis career, I I had wanted to do this thing called the Pacific Crest Trail. If anyone has seen the movie Wild or read the book Wild, it's about this trail. Um, and it's a trail that goes from Mexico to Canada. It's 2,650 miles, and it's something that I wanted to do in my life. And I just kind of decided that after college was the best time because it was kind of scary to put off getting a job, but it's like later in my life I will be um, quitting a job, to do this. So I decided that this was probably a really good time for it, and I wanted to, do something in between college and working. So yeah, it was a pretty. I decided I was going to do it like in February, and then in May, right after graduating. So I started walking north, and I started alone. I met people on the way. It took almost 4 months. I have if anyone watching me play, I have a little tattoo on my leg that is not an arrowhead or a teardrop. It is a little pine tree. which is the symbol of the trail. And so that was a really raw, gnarly experience. I learned a lot about myself. It's something I'm really, really proud of that I did. And that's why I graduated in May and I got home mid-September to Florida. And that's why pickleball started for me in October.
What was the...
Go ahead, John. Sorry.
I was going to say, I want to know what like the toughest thing about that long hiking trail was. What was there? Was it a moment? Was it like several weeks that were just tough? Like what was like the toughest or the scariest point of that hike?
First, I'll say the toughest. So it's a 4-month long trip, and it's divided into 5 sections. So the first 700 miles you're in the desert, you're going through like Southern California and stuff, and then you go through the Sierra after that, which is just such a beautiful area. It coincides with the John Muir Trail. You're going through Yosemite, through the redwoods, like a lot of just sequoias, just really, really beautiful places. So that's so like interesting and cool and great. But then after that, you kind of forget that you have like 800 miles of Northern California, which is not that beautiful. It's not that stellar. There's a lot of issues with fires. And that's where a lot of people quit. A lot of people who start this trail don't finish for various reasons. But where most people drop off is in Northern California. And it's so tough because it's like at this point, it's like I've hiked, I remember hitting 1,000 miles and you would think you'd be so happy. Like you've walked for 1,000 miles. Like that's a crazy accomplishment.
Mm-hmm.
And just honestly feeling depressed that I had 1,600 more to go,
wow.
or hitting halfway. It's like I've walked like over 1,300 miles and it's just like, shoot, I have to do this again. So Northern California was so tough. I wrote in a diary every day. And one day I wrote, the only way to stop hiking is to keep hiking, because I wasn't going to quit, but it was just, I wanted to be done so badly in that stretch. And thankfully the people I had met really kept me in it, because there was a day, it was just like everything went wrong. It's like I was really struggling in this time and my group left a little earlier than me. So I'm packing up my tent, I'm alone. And then I get stung by a yellow jacket. And then it's the previous day it had rained. So all my clothes were like damp and stunk and I was just hating my life. And then because of the rain, my portable battery died. So I had no phone charger. My phone was, and your phone is like your map. And then I ripped my pants climbing over a tree. And I was just like on the verge of tears for most of the day. But it ended up being a really good day. But at the end of the day, like we went really far. I walked that was like a 30-mile day, but the next day we were in a town, being in town, you feel like amazing. You eat whatever you want. Mm-hmm. But there were some days that were just really, really hard. And Northern California was definitely the hardest stretch. The scariest day was we were leaving Truckee or South Lake Tahoe area. And it was about fire season in California, which a lot of people may know or have heard about. And we were just walking and there was some smoke, but we were kind of used to it. And then suddenly we turn a corner and we can literally see flames. They look like they're very close to us. And so that was so scary. It was like, what do? Do we turn around? Turning around, it's like 20 miles backwards to get to the nearest road, or, we can keep going and, try to, cause it kind of like the fire here kind of looked like we were going to go around it, but it's so scary. Like what if the wind shifts,
Right.
And so we went like back and forth a little bit. We ended up kind of like running around it, and there were helicopters. There were like, we saw wildland firefighters like running the other direction from us. So that was like, I was literally thinking like, I will ask one of the men to like snap my neck. Like I'm not going to burn to death. I don't think they would have done that for me, but that was a really, really scary time. And right after that night, like we had some cell service and they had closed the trail for that section, but we were some of the last people to kind of get that. Fire ended up not burning the trail. The wind stayed where it was going in the other direction, but that was a ridiculous. That was a very scary day. The adrenaline was unbelievable that day. But that, thankfully, I mean, I don't know if I should say thankfully that's the scariest it got, because that's pretty scary. But that's the scariest it ever got. I had no like wildlife encounters. Some people had things happen with bears. That didn't happen in our group. But just getting a little too close to a fire.
Yeah, that does seem pretty scary, because you're just the subject of Mother Nature at that point, right?
Yeah.
There's
Some people carry a GPS, like satellite communication devices that have an SOS button. If you push it, a helicopter's coming. So someone in our group did have that. I didn't have one of those because after spending like a couple $1,000s on gear, I just couldn't stomach the idea of spending $300 on something that could save my life. But someone in my group had one that we could have pressed the button, but I don't know that it could have saved like, well, two people had. I don't know if the two helicopters could have, but it
Uh-huh.
was fine. Everything was fine. I shouldn't speculate, but yeah.
Question for you. Now you mentioned does everybody that does that trail, do they always start from going south to north?
No, no. So about 85% of people go from, it's called going northbound. You start at Vancouver,
Mm-hmm.
Canada. It's a different season. So people who do that start, the ideal start dates is like April to the first 2 weeks of May, probably. People who are going southbound starting in Canada start like in July, I think. Like the like late June to mid
Mm-hmm.
July is the ideal start time, just because you're timing snow in Washington, you're timing snow in the Sierras,
Right.
and you're timing water availability in the desert. So I had a very late start date. So with my start date, we had to move fast because most natural water sources in the desert were dry. So it was like 20 miles between water sources. So if you can't
Wow.
hike,
Wow.
if you can't walk 20 miles a day, you're carrying a lot of water.
Wow.
Wow. That's pretty crazy. Man, I feel like I want to try it, but I know that I would wimp out in like the first day. I don't know. Maybe the first week. I'll give myself a little credit.
You might surprise yourself. You might surprise yourself.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty awesome. I like hearing different stuff than just pickleball, like that people like I feel like people in pickleball it's just like that's their whole life. So it's nice to like hear something a little different, than what most people uh in this world do. So that's pretty cool.
Any
Man,
learnings
that's
from
pretty
that
tough.
experience that you take to the court, Anna?
Um, I don't know that I take things from the core. I think just coming from the trail, I've just had a general sense of like peace and comfort with myself and with who
Mm-hmm.
I am. And so that probably, does play into, how I am on the court. But I think I just, you're alone. You walk, 20 to 30 miles a day. You think a lot. Um, and you just get really comfortable with, your own thoughts and stuff. So for some people it's more of a meditative experience than others, but I definitely think that I just a sense of confidence and that I can do the things I set my mind to, even when it's tough, even when I'm like, oh my God, I'm only halfway, it's like
Mm-hmm.
I still know that I can do it. So I think just a sense, and also one of my biggest takeaways was that just because a day starts as a bad day, it doesn't have to finish as one. Like I
Mhm.
said, that one day when it just felt
Yeah.
like, it felt like Murphy's Law, everything that could go wrong was going wrong. It still ended up being a really good day. Like the second half of the day really turned around. Like I caught up to my friends, and they kind of helped me get out of my funk, and we ended up getting like, we were getting to a place where we could catch a bus into a town like at 7 a.m. And then I was
Mhm.
I was eating diner food, drinking, putting down like three milkshakes, having all the soda I could possibly want. So so I think that, a bad day doesn't have to stay a bad day, and just a general sense of like comfort with who I am.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
that's pretty awesome. I mean, I feel like also if you can complete something like that, you feel like you can do anything, probably, right?
Yeah,
Just because,
absolutely.
yeah, throughout that whole thing, you go through so many ups and downs, and just like the mental fortitude it takes to complete that whole thing is something that I mean, you said that like a lot of people don't complete it, right? So it's it definitely doesn't sound very easy. So you have to be pretty strong minded to be able to go that whole route. So
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Thank you.
And now you're in tech.
I am. I work at a fintech company remotely, which is
Oh,
why I'm here.
well, I guess you don't have to say the company, but I was working in fintech as well.
Oh,
Uh,
really?
yeah, but I got out of the fintech world, and now I'm just in the automotive industry. But yeah, it's quite a developing industry. Do you like it?
Um, I'm no finance bro. I can't say I am. I like my job a lot. I really like the
Hmm.
people in the company. Uh, my company is pretty small, so I know a lot of people. I work like directly under my boss, and he's been very. I shared with him my pickleball success, and he was very happy for me, and is like being flexible so I can continue to pursue it. So I feel so lucky and like thankful for where I'm at. I can't say I'm like super passionate about our product or anything,
Mm-hmm.
but I really like the people in the company. They're treating me so well, so I like it a lot. And some people are asking me like, "Are you going to quit your job for pickleball?" And I'm like, "No, I know that I won't. I'm going to have a pretty flexible situation,
Mm-hmm.
and it's important to me personally that I don't want pickleball to be my whole life because, like I said, with tennis, I kind of got burnt out like 13 to 15, and that's the time when I was homeschooled. I was just training all day, and I think it would be so sad if I just love playing pickleball.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do it for like medaling and getting money or anything. I just love playing. I love playing rec games. So I really want to kind of protect myself from that. And I think quitting my job and just doing pickleball full time would almost guarantee that. And that would just be such a shame. So I'm gonna keep
Yeah.
working. I like my job. I like having something else to think about, even if it's not, the most exciting thing ever. I think it's important for me to have that.
Yeah, and it's definitely a lot more secure uh,
For sure.
than
That
than
too.
it. Yeah, than a pickable income at the moment.
Right. I mean, that's 100% a lot of the decision as well. It's like
Mm-hmm.
if I decide maybe have had enough of pickleball in a year or two, I don't have an employment gap, and in this way,
Right.
yeah, there's still steady paychecks coming in.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, on an earlier episode, Anna, we were talking about how we can build up the women's draws in the pro tours because we think that that is something that we need. And John had an idea, and he's like broadcasting to all of the former collegiate tennis players out there to come and play pickleball. So, what do you think of that theory? Should more people like you with a collegiate tennis background be coming into pickleball?
No, because then I have competition. Um, just kidding. I definitely think that more people should give it a try, but I also recognize that I think a lot of the people on my team are a little burnt out of playing competitive sports and maybe they
Mm-hmm.
need a hiatus. Um, I think maybe my trail time was enough of a hiatus for me and one reason I was so like raring to get into it. But I definitely think more people should give it a try. It's so fun. I've been hearing a lot though of people saying that, college tennis players, once if they want to play, they're going to just take over. I don't necessarily think that's true. I think pickleball is like snowboarding. It's like easy to learn but hard to master, I
Mm-hmm.
think. And I think that pickleball just really, really suits my game style. But there were some girls on my team that were better than me at tennis, but to be frank, I think they'd be a disaster at pickleball. I have one girl on my team in mind in particular. She's one of those people who hits like everything as hard as she can, and on her good day, she can literally beat anyone. But on a bad day, it's like you just don't even want to watch. And so I do think that tennis players have a huge leg up in pickleball, but I think that some of the vernacular that if D1 players come like they're just going to take over completely, like I don't necessarily think that is true, but it would be great to have deeper women's fields, because right now the situation is you kind of maybe like 6 to 8 women who are almost untouchable, and then kind of a lot of people like going for scraps. And I'm excited to start breaking into that kind of elite group, and I hope to do it in the next few months. But yeah, I definitely think it'd be great if there were just at the because the APP double side had a lot of competition this week in Punta Gorda, but definitely the single side still lacking. So it would be
Mm-hmm.
great for that.
Well, speaking of that, I would say that the plantation tournament for singles is probably well, not maybe the deepest level talent wise, but the deepest like in terms of sheer number of
Hmm.
entrants. I mean, there's like 15 women signed up, which never happens anymore for singles. Usually, the women's singles draw is like 6 to 8 women, and it sucks to see because it's like there are like a bunch of good female players out there that just don't do singles or they don't want to, and then it's just like you see the same matchups, right? So it was like kind of
Right,
refreshing to see different matchups this past one, and now we're going to see even more this upcoming weekend because there's more women coming into the game and wanting to
right.
play singles. And what Stacie was alluding to, it's like if I was one of the tournament directors, I would be going to these colleges and being like, "Hey, who graduated, right? Still wants to be competitive that you would know, and like let's get a paddle in their hand, and grow the sport, because the sport itself like needs more women, especially like players like you, where you had like a competitive career, you took a little break, and you're just gonna be competitive. You may not be winning medals right away all the time, but you're gonna be competitive right off the bat, right?
Right.
So, I mean, if I was a tournament director, that's what I would be doing, just to get more
I think
women
that's
in.
really smart. And I
Yeah.
forgot to mention, I don't know her personally, but I know that Paris Todd is playing in this event this week. I don't know her personally, but she's someone that I'm excited to play against and that I'm a little bit worried about. So I just want to make sure I do mention her, even though I
Yeah,
don't
she
know
had
her,
a good
just in case.
showing. She had a good
Yeah.
showing. I don't remember, was it the PPA or the APP? I don't remember, but it was the Arizona.
Yeah, it was the
Um,
PPA, so I just forgot to mention her, but she's someone that I'm worried about. So I'd say her and Bobby are the new names that I am a little worried about in the singles draw this on Sunday.
well, I'm excited to watch it firsthand, courtside.
And John's done a
Uh,
little bit of homework, so he'll be able to speak from educational and about Anna Bright.
yes, yes. I tell you, I fully admit I was underprepared for this one. So no offense to you, of course. I am a finance bro, and it is the month end. So it's generally a little stressful or busy around this time, but so I apologize for that. Um,
You're just
but I
here
will
for the
definitely.
jokes anyway, John. So
I'm just here for the good looks and the personality. That's really all I go for.
Anna, what do you think? What do you think the sport of pickleball needs? It doesn't have to be the pro or the tournament side. Like just generally, what do you think the sport needs?
Hmm. Well, I do think more women, but we've already talked about that because I think, mixed doubles draws suffer from that too. It's not just
Hmm.
women's
Hmm.
draws that suffer, and mixed is a huge deal in pickleball. But I would love to see some rowdier crowds, is one thing that I would love. I just think it's a lot of fun when you have a crowd that's really, really fired up, and I think
Hmm.
Major League Pickleball had that.
Hmm.
I don't really know how to encourage that, but I think that would make, viewership better, make people more excited to come watch. I think, that would help pickleball get more TV time, etc. I don't know if that's the great answer. I don't really know how to encourage that, but I think that that would make the crowd. That's why I love like Kathy. I don't know if viewers know who Kathy is,
Yes,
but she's
yes.
the woman with the popsicle sticks and the faces. Like I'm just obsessed with her. Like she's so fun. And then I thought she was kind of crazy, but then I talked to her and she's actually like entirely normal, and she
She's
just does
super
not
sweet.
care. She just
Yeah.
doesn't like. She doesn't care like what anyone thinks of her. She'll just be screaming. She screams for everyone on the court. So I love her. I think that, getting some more personalities in the stands would be great. And that'll probably come naturally with time. But I also think that I don't really know how to encourage it, but I think having a crowd that's really into it is something that would be really like good for the sport as a whole, because I think just people love that. People love when
Hmm.
there's hype. And I think that's one reason that I was really well received this week, is because I'm gonna get fired up. I'm gonna get fired up. It's just gonna happen. I'm never trying to be rude to my opponents. Like I always make a point to like turn when I'm saying come on. I never am looking at people, because when I was like younger in Texas, I would get taunting warnings. So I learned you have to turn around so no one thinks you're a bitch,
Well, you're
which is
you're
totally
speak
fair.
you're speaking to the right people, Anna, because John and I are known to give a loud "let's go" or "come ons," but I don't think we
We're
turn
very
around.
obnoxious. We're very
Um,
obnoxious.
but
I could tell.
you're speaking to the right people. I totally agree. I come from a softball background where the crowds are rowdy and the dugouts are crazy, and I do think pickleball is the right culture for that, and I think it would make it more fun transitioning into the tournaments. Um,
Mhm.
I think more alcohol sales may help with that, but
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
actually a good idea. That's actually
Yep.
a really good
Yep.
idea.
It always
I wouldn't
helps.
have thought of that, but that's a good idea.
I mean, it definitely puts it's that it definitely on the tours definitely need to I think focus on getting more people in the stands, right, and then hyping them up like you said, and definitely beer sales will help tremendously. I remember the Atlanta tournament at PBA. There was this one lady that got so drunk, and she was on the championship court right on the sideline, and the lifetime at Atlanta is like a bowl. You know, it's beneath the what, not sea level, but you know what I mean, like ground level.
Yeah.
And you had her yelling on one side cheering, and then you had like Jeff Warnick, who's very loud, and Johnny Goldberg, and they were all drinking because they got knocked out already, and they were just like heckling back and forth across the stadium, and it was the funniest thing in the world. So yeah, I agree. More alcohol, more fans, more cheering,
Yeah,
more rowdiness.
I think that would be a real recipe for success. It's just make it rowdier, you know, like Stacie
Mm-hmm.
said in college, you know, softball, like college tennis. The funnest matches are the rowdy ones. Even when you have, you know, the team you're playing as their men's team like heckling you, yeah, it's annoying, but darn, it makes it fun and it makes you
Hmm.
care more. So
Yeah, I'm not as good of a person as you, I guess. I like to stare people down. It doesn't matter what the score is. I could be down. I could be up 14-0 or down 0-14, and if I get a good point or even a bad point, but I win it, sometimes, especially playing with Stacie, we are like super obnoxious, you know.
okay,
And we'll fist pump, and I will look directly into the person that I just burned, and
you're asserting dominance though.
I don't feel bad about it. I don't. Some people, some people in the tennis world, I guess, they think it's like bad etiquette. Um, but I was a goalkeeper in soccer, so like all I do back there for like 90% of the game is yell, so I'm just like used to it.
Hmm.
Um,
But to be fair,
but
John, it's not like so much to get into the opponent's minds. It's more like
sometimes,
that's how we ourselves, well, for me, I'll speak for
yeah.
myself then. It's how I can play my best. Like I know I have to
Hmm.
get to this space because that's how I competed in softball. But it's awkward, and to your point, like for me to get to that space and be like yelling and obnoxious is awkward when it's super quiet and nobody else is like matching my intensity. So it's hard for me on the court to feel okay with that. So I have like this internal battle, but more
Hmm.
rowdy fans would help, I think. So I'm not just the only
Yeah.
one screaming on the court.
And Stacie, so Anna, Stacie and I have played a lot of tournaments together, and Stacie, like whenever we're playing bad, it's always because we're like just kind of just playing and not really like, yeah, like Stacie hits a good shot and I'll just like get right in her face like with a fist pump. Like that's when we play our best. If we're not doing that, we're always losing. So it's like we'll be losing a match like, Stacie, I don't care how we win this next point. As soon as we win it, we are gonna go nuts. Just to get it back up. And it could be like the other person like misses a dink and I just like go look right at Stace and like give her a fist bump, and that can really turn the game around. So
Mm-hmm.
I disagree with Stacie a little bit that I do sometimes try to put pressure on the opponents, with a little assertiveness, but it is for myself and, someone like Stacie too, to just get rowdy. I love to see it.
I love
And
it. I absolutely love it.
Anna, what motivates you now? So what motivates you to go out there and compete?
Um, I am lucky that I honestly really enjoy it. You know, after like working all day, I'm always looking forward to going to go play pickleball. So I really enjoy it. But I'm a really, you know, goal-oriented person. I want to see how good I can get, and I'm lucky in that I think that I could become one of the best in, you know, a few months to a year's time. So that's where I want to head. You know, it's a bit tough in pickleball because people have like their partners planned out for, it feels like the entire year. So kind of trying to like break in and find like women's partners is definitely not easy. But I think that that's where I want to go. That's kind of my intention. I think that the level I've reached in 4 months is a bit ridiculous. Like people tell me, I've been telling like, oh, you deserve this. I'm like, do I? Like, I don't really think so. There are a lot of people
Hmm.
who've spent a lot more time and worked a lot harder than me. I'm just lucky that I'm really talented, and I have put in a, you know, I don't think many people have played more than I have in 4 months. Like I started working in January, so from like October to December, like I was putting in the time. And now I
Hmm.
still play every day for like a minimum of 2 hours, but you know, I don't know that I could say I deserve it, but you know, I am where I am, and I only want to keep getting better. So we'll just see. You know, hopefully in a few months to a year, my name can be right up there with some of, the best in the game, like in the conversation. So that's where I want to go. We'll see what happens. I have to stay healthy. Hopefully I keep enjoying it. I think if I stop enjoying it, I'll probably back off a little bit, but that's what I want. I mapped out my tournaments for like the rest of the year. Once my boss gave me A-OK, it's like,
Wow.
I want to play in a lot of the top events. Like, we'll see. We'll just see what happens.
My coach in college always used to say 2 things will kill a team, which would be attitude and injuries. So you just said it, your attitude towards pickleball, that you enjoy it, and injuries. So as long as you can keep those on the up and up, sounds like you're ready to put in the work, and yeah, obviously you have the talent. So
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Stacie, the NML was just revealed yesterday, and they picked Anna, I guess, right, for one of the tournaments already, and they're called No Man's Land, and I think it's appropriately named because I don't even know who they are. So, Anna, what they've picked you and it made you feel good, but have you heard of like who they are? Did you hear the names?
I listened to a bit of, I wrote the names down today. I listened to Lauren's podcast up until they
Yeah.
were revealed, and I listened to them talk a little bit. Then I was like, okay, I think that's enough. It's Chris Ross, I think, and someone named Jeremy. I do not
Mm.
know who they are, but I know their names, and I found them on Instagram, so I didn't recognize them either. I think they're like Canadians, and they're
Yeah.
like solid 5-0s. But I don't know. I don't know them, but I don't know which one is Slim. But whoever is Slim is the one who really believed in me. So
shout out to Slim. No, I thought
shout
it
out
was
to Slim.
funny.
I don't know which one.
I listened to the podcast and I thought it was funny. They called themselves this themselves. I don't know if it was Chris or Jeremy, but they said they're 2 Joe Blows from Canada. So at least they were having some fun with it. But yeah, no, that was pretty cool that they revealed themselves. I'm curious to see how people respond now that it's not a mystery. I myself kind of like the mystery and the speculation around it all. So I don't get to do that anymore. Guess who it is. But what do you think, John?
I don't know. I'm personally a little disappointed because I was hoping that one of them would have been like a more recognizable name, right? Because then I would have wanted to see once it got revealed how that would have changed, what they do, because they started out like super savage. And I was like, okay, I'm here for this. They were calling people out left and right. And then eventually, you run out of material and then they just became like reporters. But it'll be interesting to see now, like what they not like now that their name's out there, how are they going to do this? Like, are they going to keep going, or are they going to be like a little savage, like how they started? Are they going to keep calling people out? Like, I don't know. But I will say, apparently they're lawyers, but they don't write very well. So
A lot of
I don't know.
typos. A lot of typos.
I don't know if I'd hire them.
Hire me.
So I'd rather hire Stacie. She's a much better writer. Anna, let me tell you, Stacie writes out like an essay for college before every single podcast. And then like the 3 minutes before we log on, I read it all. but yeah,
Well, one
go
thing
ahead.
NML did say, just to bring it back, Anna, they called you top 5, and they said you would be closer to the top of that 5 by the end of the year, I think, if they put a time on it.
They did say he said it was my maybe hot take. And I was like, is that really a hot take? Is kind of how I felt about it. Because I think that's my trajectory right now. To be in the top 2.5 would be really really sick. But that was Slim is like my hype man. Slim fires me
Hey,
up.
there
Slim
you
also
go.
wrote like everything I need to work on. And I thought everything he wrote was really spot on and really made a lot of sense to me. So I put on my new pickleball account, I said like, this blog just told me everything I need to work on, #cheat codes. And I felt like it is a cheat code. It's like, all right, I need to get better at rolling the ball in cross court and singles, which I had already actually told my dad, who listens to me word vomit about pickleball every single day, that was something I needed to work on. That I needed to work on like being more assertive at the kitchen line. I was like, okay, like sounds good, coach. So I was like, excited to listen to it because I was like, who's my coach? Like, who is this person? And then I don't really know. I don't know them, of course, but I'm sure we'll cross paths soon, and I'll figure out which one is my guy.
They were there. They were there in Punta Gorda.
I know.
Live, so.
I was actually got invited to play with them like on Wednesday in Davie. My friend Merrick texted me like there were these two guys from Canada who were here and looking to practice like in Davie, like we needed an eighth. And I was like thinking about going, but then I got summoned by the Johnsons. So yeah, so I almost met them actually and would have spent time with them and talked to them face to face, but it just didn't end up happening, which is really funny in hindsight that I almost met them.
No, that's amazing. So any final thoughts, anything that the pickleball world needs to know about Anna Bright? Sounds like you're going to put in the work, you're going to improve, you're going to be more out there on the scene at the tournaments, trying to make a splash. What do we need? Any final thoughts on what we need to know?
I think I'm just going to keep it funky, you know? I feel like y'all got to follow my new Pickleball Instagram account. I don't know. I just think it's got to I feel like there could be a little more personality in pickleball. And so I'm just going to be myself, which is maybe a little bit whack, a little bit quirky sometimes. I don't really know what else to say. I feel like I've given a good sampling of who I am, talking to you guys. Thank you guys for kind of giving me a platform to do that, and for having me on in general. But I don't really know that there's some deep, dark secret that I need to reveal about myself.
Well, we're here to watch you. We're here. Everybody go follow. I think it's at annabright.pb on Instagram. Yes. Please go follow. We're going to be following. Hopefully, maybe in a couple months, we can circle back and see how this trajectory is going and if you're living up to your own expectations. I think that's the most important, rather than what everybody else is putting on you. So keep that in perspective. But we're really excited for the future you have, Anna, where we think you're a welcome addition. Bring the personality, please, because we want to be talking about it. And thank you
100%.
for coming on today. John, any final thoughts from you?
I would just say, keep your personality coming, like she said, because nobody wants, a lame duck out there. So just be yourself and have fun with it, like you want to do. But we appreciate you being on, and I will see you at Plantation, and hopefully I'll get to call one of your matches.
You better be gassing me up in that commentator booth.
All right, I will.
Well, John, before you take us out, please, everybody that's listening, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you follow us. Please follow Anna Bright over on Instagram, and go listen to John and watch Anna play in Plantation this coming weekend.
Yeah, and Anna, the way we go out, I don't know if you have a drink next to you, but we always cheers the camera. I don't know if you have a cup.
I have an empty water bottle. I'll use that.
That will work. All right. Ready?
Actually.
All right. We're cheersing. Pickler out.
Pickler.